you're doing well. You had a nice weekend. It's bank holiday in the UK, France, Germany, Switzerland, and the United States. So not expecting too much in the way of moves. There'll be some decent moves, but there won't be like anything really parabolic, I think, because those banks are closed. And so I got a good question from a new guy. That's how to use the spreadsheet. So really, you could do if you're in like an intraday trader, you could be using the bubbles. So you're looking for a strong Aussie, a weak euro, and then you're just looking for sells on EA, right? So anything comes over here, it's a buy. Anything comes over here, it's a sell. Ideally, this comes down a little bit. Ideally, this comes up a bit because it just tells us they're adding to that bias, okay? And you've got to be careful when bubbles are extreme because this is where they're going to get stopped out. You've got to be careful when a bubble is extreme because that's where they're going to get stopped out. And obviously, they've only got finite funds, and they'll have to get out at a huge loss, and it might be like a margin call for those guys. So we have to be careful with extremes, basically. Right. So this is the intraday perspective. So you can use the bubbles for intraday, and if you want to be using the, if you're more of a swing trader, you could look for the QDB ranking. Now we see that Aussie yen, CAD yen, Swiss yen, Euro yen, pound yen, dollar yen, all got good scores. We should see a softer yen. Also note that the Aussie Kiwi is strong as well. So we can come to the Aussie Kiwi, and you see, we're pumping quite a bit. And we had some AN trades on Friday, but we got stopped out on those, so that's fine. Now, if you look at the week, we've got a bullish engulfing on the week. So it's a very strong week that we put in last week. And we had the RBNZ as well. So we had a bullish engulfing in so much as that the extreme of the high and low is encapsulated, engulfed the prior week. I think the body is just about right. Just maybe. I think it is an engulfing. It's definitely engulfed the high, and I think it engulfed the low. If we look at the body, but the wick definitely engulfed it. So strong week for the AN. Right, so from a technical perspective, fairly bullish, and we've got a decent score here on the QDB score. It's a daily pivot, weekly pivot, monthly pivot, average price by whether or not it's a sell and the sentiment, whether or not the retail guys are getting paid, and the daily open, weekly open, are we above or below, and it's quite strong. So that's how you can use the sheet. You can use it for intraday, and you can use it for swing trading. And so we can look at our indices. I'll bring this across so you can see the signals. We had an EA short that resulted in a profit, as you can see on the analysis I just provided. EA should be falling according to the bubble. And this is currently the situation we've got as AC long, Kiwi, Swiss, sell, CAD, yen long. Now this should be coming up because yen's got a poor score, and we'll just have to see how we go. It might mean that we get stopped out, but that's fine. It might just need a slightly wider stop because this should be coming up higher. And also I wonder whether we're going to have a little bit more clarity because the debt ceiling crisis has been resolved in speech marks. We all knew it would do, but it had to go to like the 11th hour on Friday. And so we might see a little bit more clarity perhaps. And, it is what it is. So I'm also thinking about maybe shorting the dollar Swiss as well because it's looking quite heavy, but you'd want the bubbles to align. And so we'll just see the dollar Swiss, where are we? It's got a fairly poor score. You could watch that. If you've got a bias in the dollar Swiss, then you could look for that and see if it creeps down. I think it probably is going to creep down. They were really long, but they're 56% long now. They were very, very skewed. So that's that. So I might be looking for selling this. Looks like a good short. It's got like a fairly poor score in the QDB ranking. And so let's have a look at the analysis. Gold is, we chopped quite a bit. They sold it, price come up. They went long, so price fell. We chopped, admittedly. They sold it, so price come up. They went long here, here-ish, so price fell. But we came into some support, and we are nicely supported, and it looks like it might be doing okay. They might sell it. I think they might because we're below 1950, and they're thinking that that's going to be an important level. So they love their round numbers, don't they? So maybe they might sell it. We might see a test at 1950, and then I go, oh right, it's quite bearish, we'll sell it, and then like a million people sell it or mass will come up higher, and this is going to be a support. The reason why it's a support is because they sold it, and so that's the reason we hit the pump. Let's go down on DAX, and so we've got a double bottom, identified to the big traders, the big fish. We'll be looking at that double bottom. We had a very nasty move, diagonal break, which obviously ensnared those guys. They really shorted it, which makes sense. They would. Maybe they did okay. 1, 2, 3, 4 hours of like pretty much scary, scary price action. They'd sold it, and now they might hold on and up with pump. So we've got a double bottom, and looks like a fake out here, and it ensnared those guys to sell, and up we come. And then we're going to have some resistance here. The reason why we've got resistance up here is because they went long, and so obviously price fell. All right, DAX is done, and S&P. So we might be making a risky sell. If we get those interchange of the MA and SSI, then we're going to have like a resistance zone. But we have got to wait for the crossover yet. But yeah, quite tricky. We have pumped quite a bit, so we might be doing a little retrace, especially if we get the crossover here, which would be sell, and then we can map our box. Yeah, it won't be there because we haven't had the crossover. It'd have to be here, so we have to wait for a couple of hours to see what happens. We'll be mapping a zone if they go long, and then that'll be a resistance zone. And it was 30, I guess. And we obviously had quite a clear channel break, and they really got caught, and that we come. So we created a zone because they've sold it, and that we pump, and that's it. So maybe there'll be a clearer week this week because it'll be eyes on data as opposed to like fiscal, government stuff, the debt ceiling crisis. With that, it's very much an unknown variable. With the NFP and all the data that's coming out this week, at least that's going to be like a binary event that we can look forward to. And but the debt ceiling crisis was like an unknown. Like I say, it would have got resolved, but there was an issue of it, just prolonging, and it's an uncertainty. No one likes the uncertainty, especially the big pockets and the big fish. They don't like that, and so we might be seeing a little bit more clarity, and our signals might be better this week due to that potentially. So hopefully it helps, and you can see how you can use the bubbles for intraday, and you can use the QD ranking for swing trade. So if something's negative, quite heavily negative up here, it's likely going to retrace for a move higher. And so, probably look for CAD yen. Like I say, we've got the signal already. We're negative when we shouldn't be, and it's got a good score. They're very skewed, actually. Wow. I hadn't just realized that. God, they're very skewed. So we're looking for more upside in here, but be careful because there isn't much more room on the Swiss yen. We can't be 100% sure. It's just impossible. It wouldn't be a market. So be careful with this one. CAD yen might be okay, and we'll just see how we go. And it might be a better week this week because we're just going to be focusing on data and the binary value, that yes or no, positive or negative. And so we'll have to see how we go. And I'll speak to you guys soon.